right, we've got an interesting topic today. I was told we're talking about character development. So, you know what? This actually makes a lot of sense because I bet you're a completely different person now than you were about 10 years ago. And sometimes we become so drastically different because we've changed who we are and we just do not identify with that person that we used to be. And at one point, we really identified with that person that we used to be. The way that we acted really was part of our character. So let me give you an example. Back in the day, I don't drink anymore. I haven't drank in probably 4 years or so. Not that if you do, I think that that's a problem or anything. I just don't. And my son came home from Australia. He'd been gone for a while. He didn't drink, and I'm like, dude, what the heck? You don't drink? You're 20-something years old. And he's like, no. And then he told me why, and I was like, oh, that's a good reason why. And then I followed suit. I just didn't drink anymore. But anyways, prior to this, I was the, here, let me make your drink, and let's get everybody drunk, and let's have a fun time kind of person. And it was this way for a long time. You know, it wasn't regularly. It was, you know, maybe once a month, maybe if that, whatever it happened to be. But it was the let's drink and have a good time kind of me. And if I was making your drink at that time, yes, it would be a danger zone. I would be wanting everyone to have as much fun as what I was having. Maybe you could identify with that at some point in your life. But so at that time, if people were to know me then, and they were to judge me off of my character then, they would have a very different idea of who I am, which wouldn't be accurate at all for who I am now. Now let's go back even farther. So back when I would have been even younger, let's go to the very young 20s, late teens, the people who would have known me back then would have thought, oh, well, she's a cocaine lover, and did I drink back then too? I think I drank back then too. Maybe not as in excess at that time, but I certainly did after that. Me and Jack Daniels were best friends for some time. And so if people back then were to see me now, what kind of view would they have of me now? Not that I want to compare myself to Jesus, but I'm going to do that in a minute here. So if they were to go back and they were to look at me during childhood, you know, everyone would have these characters of me mapped out in their mind, and those characters may or may not be an accurate representation. But I bet if someone was to go off of your character 20 years ago, I would hope that you have grown a lot and that you're significantly different, better than you were back then. As long as you have remained open-minded and you have wanted to grow throughout your life, then you're a very different person than you were however long ago. Same deal happened with Jesus. Why is he not talked about in the Bible? If you want to learn more about him, you could listen to the Christ letters. You could read the Christ letters. It'll tell you some things. You could look up other studies, I remember, or other books that, you know, aren't in the Bible. And you could probably find out a whole lot more, like the fact that he was actually born in a cave, not in a manger, things like this. Anyway, so Jesus was actually a rebel. He from the offset, knew that the church wasn't right. He saw the things that they were preaching, and he's like, these things don't make any sense. So, you know, his mom sent him to the church because she believed, you know, he was going to be this Messiah, and they rejected him for being too opinionated because he was arguing with the chief priests, telling them that they were wrong about what they were thinking. So he wasn't accepted into the church for this, you know, training that his mother had wanted for him. And Jesus was kind of a rebel. He would hang out with people of all kinds. He would drink. He would have fun. He would be merry. He would go and do whatever it was that he wanted to do. And if he needed some money, well, then he'd go and he'd go work in the orchards for a day, and he'd go and he'd collect the money that he needed to eat, drink, and be merry and do what it was that he wanted to do. It was not until he went out in the desert and had his enlightenment that he then returned. And what does the Bible say about the desert? Let's see. So he's out there for 6 weeks, And it tells you that he was with that the angels were with him, and he was tempted of the devil. Yeah, pretty detailed there in the book. Anyways, if you were to read the Christ letters, you could hear all about it. And he really does tell you everything, all about it, of how he went out there and came back and had become enlightened when he was out there. And so when he went out there, he was just regular old drinking Jesus, having fun. And when he came back, he could heal people because he saw how it worked. So he had an excessive amount of character development that happened when he was out there in the desert. And if people saw him in town and they recognized him and they're like, oh, that's Jesus over there doing that, some people would have had a very skewed view of him because they would have known him from his drinking and having fun days. But I know the Bible would like you to believe that he was born this perfect little angel, the savior of the world from the offset. I mean, he was, but he wasn't. His character wouldn't have led you to believe that he's this holy man that's going to go and save the world. But he developed into this. I guess I tell you this to tell you that if you know people, let's say there's this woman, she used to like to talk bad about everybody. Every single person would have something negative to say about them because she grew up in this small town, so she knew every single person who had lived there, and through the gossip train felt like she knew every single person in this town. So you would even mention, oh, I'm going to go, meet so-and-so later, or I ran into so-and-so somewhere and they said hi to me, and she would launch off in this character attack about that person and telling you all of the negative things about this person. Now, the good thing about that is I don't listen when other people talk bad about somebody else. Like, I'm actually not listening to it, and it's making me think bad about the person who's telling me. Lucky for the people that she was talking bad about, but people do this a lot. Why do they do this? I don't know. But they do this a lot. And so you'll say, oh, I'm going to go meet Mary later on, and well, oh, Mary, ooh, she, this and that. Did you know that this happened 10 years ago and these things? And then they'll tell you, and then by the time that you go and actually meet Mary for the first time, you have this completely skewed view of her and who she must be because somebody decided to throw some poison at somebody's character from, 10 years previous or whatever it happened to be. And so they're not doing anyone any favors, and by doing this, they're going to get that karma returned back to them. And but they're really actually causing a lot of harm by doing this. So, one of the biggest harms of it is that it is now, it's not the truth about this person. So sure, maybe this happened, but that doesn't mean that person is still that way. It doesn't mean any of those things. And very often, especially in a small any gossip that goes around, did you actually get it from the source? Did you hear this from, fifth person go around? Very often, the things that you hear don't even have an ounce of truth that are even in them anymore. And even if Mary did that thing 10 years ago, she's certainly not the same person that she is today. 100% not. Because everybody changes, right? As long as they're growing and as long as they're developing. So if you were to think back on your life and you were to think about perhaps even now, sometimes when we grow, it can be difficult to let go of things that we were identifying with. So for example, I was the life of the party. I would have considered myself that. I know I'm not the only one, but I would like to go and I would like to have fun and, do these kinds of things. And so then all of a sudden when I've now changed my mind, and I was at a very different place in my life when my son came home from Australia. But when I've changed my mind and now it's like, oh, you know what, I'm not going to drink anymore. Well, had that been, me being the life of the party, all of a sudden to kind of step out of that role, had I identified with that or had I got my worth from that or something like that, that would have been a difficult thing for me to let go of, right? Because it would have been like, oh, but everybody loves me because of this. Well, if they love you because of that, they're not your friends. your friends will love you no matter what. So often, we put our judgments on other people from situations in the past, or we don't forgive people. Maybe somebody did something, 10, 20, 30 years ago, and you have a hard time letting it go or forgiving that person, even though they're a completely different they're literally a different person, because your cells renew, every single one of them within 7 years. So every 7 years you're actually a completely different person. So keep that in mind when you're thinking back on the past, and maybe you're resentful or have hard feelings towards someone who did something a long time ago, or you think certain ways about certain people. Just keep in mind, everybody changes, and if they don't, that's on them, man. That's on them. There would be a reason why. So, if we're talking about character development, what type of character? What do you want? What kind of person do you want to be? When I look back at my life, so I had my mom's best friend died when she was, I think, 37. So I was, a pretty young kid at this time. And I always loved this woman. We were just talking about her the other day. But what did I love about her? I thought she was the nicest woman you could ever come across. She had this nice, soft, sweet voice. Like she was just so sweet. She was just so nice. She was so kind. We lived in Canada. She would go out in the morning. She'd get up and she would go and scrape people's windshields. Her neighbors on the street. She'd just walk down and just go clean people's windshields off. Do you have any idea what a gift that is to... I've never had anybody do that for me before. Have somebody clean my windshield off when it's full of ice and snow, and for her to do this to I don't know if you realize this, it's freezing freaking cold in Canada, so if you've got ice and snow and whatever on your windshield, it's freaking cold out there. And so she would go out and she would just do this for her neighbors because she just loved people. She just loved serving God and being a good soul. And I always remember thinking, okay, if I could look up to somebody, or if I thought something, she's my pick. She would be my top pick. And why? Because she was so kind. That's it. And so then I'm, looking forward in my life. Okay, well, what kind of characteristic, what is it that you really remember about people? What is it that you admire in people? And I got to tell you that there's not one grumpy or rude or mean old person that I would admire. I wouldn't admire that at all in anybody. But I would admire kindness, and especially somebody who's still super kind even though they've been through their whole life. So look at the characteristics that you have about yourself, and sometimes we identify ourselves with things that aren't us, right? Because they're changeable. I would say the only thing about me that is not, that has never changed, is my spirituality, is that curiosity that I have for it, the love that I have for it, and that deep connection that I have for it. I would say that is a constant that I have had for as long as I can possibly remember. But I would say every single other thing about me has probably changed, because I'm pretty loyal. I would be a very loyal person until you push me, and then you're cut off immediately. That'd be the thing. So I'm a very good friend, I guess you could say. I'd be a very good friend, unless I'm not being treated right or valued, and then I'm not your friend anymore. So these, few things might have stuck with me throughout the years, but as far as who I am, I'm a very, very different person than I was, 2 years ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, however long. And I bet that you are too. Now, what is it about you? Is there something, so let's say that you still got some kind of something that you're clinging on to, like some kind of bad habit or some kind of, what do you need to let go of? Whatever that thing is, what is it that you need to let go of? That. Once you let that go, you're going to feel like a very different person. And you will be. And so once you've let that thing go, and let's say 5 years goes by and you're not doing that thing anymore, you're not going to identify with that person from 5 years ago, which is who you are right now. So this is what I'm saying. People change, and if we're always looking to grow, and we're always in that, I just want to get better and better, because why wouldn't we? I mean, instinctually, it's got to be in there somewhere for people wanting to do and be better. And so as long as that's continually on play, then you're going to change throughout the years. Now, what happens here? Sometimes people get stuck. And sometimes they get stuck in a certain period of their life where some type of traumatic something happens. So let's say you're 17, this thing happens, and then it's almost like you could get stuck there at that age because this certain traumatic type thing happened. And so then you could go for years and years and years and years and years, and you're essentially the same person that you were however long ago. And this is not necessarily a bad thing, but it's showing you that you're not growing. So what is really showing you is that there's something that needs to be healed within you. And when you can figure out what that is, which is, what I help people do, we go into that subconscious state where your mind knows everything. And we do the inner healing soul work from there, the deep soul work. Because every issue that's going on, whether it be mental, physical, emotional, whatever it is, it all begins and ends in your subconscious mind. It truly does. Your subconscious mind controls almost everything that you do. They say it's like 90-some%, whatever it is. I don't believe this for a second. I believe it's 100% of it. I believe it's all of it, because the decisions that you consciously make are always dictated by your subconscious mind, by the emotion, by the feeling, by the things that are in your subconscious mind. So let's say that you're like, oh, what do you feel like doing today? Well, that feeling, whatever choices you end up making, the feeling is dictated by your subconscious. So even though you're consciously choosing, oh, I'm going to go to the mall, then I'm going to go over here, and then I'm just going to chill at home. Even though you think you're choosing this for yourself, it's actually your subconscious that has chosen it for you, because the reason why you want to go do those things is because you feel like going to go do those things. You know what I'm saying? So our subconscious mind dictates basically everything that we do, which is why this is the mind that I use when I'm working with my clients, because it's the mind that makes all the decisions. So let's just go straight to the decision maker. How about that? When you're walking into a company, do you sit there and talk with who was ever at the front desk for an hour trying to solve or accomplish your problem, or do you go to the decision maker? You go to the decision maker. So that's what I do. That's what my sessions are about. And so we go into that decision-making mind, and we figure out why it's making this choice. Because there's always a why. And our mind is so curious, right? This little kids, what do they ask you all the time? Well, why? 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 I love this. Ask more questions. I want to know why too. This is how people gather intelligence, is by asking the why. And you know what? When you don't know the why, it's real hard to let go of something. It's real hard to change something. It's real hard to do things when you don't know the why. People are like, oh, well, I feel this way. Well, I don't know why. Well, if you did know why, it'd be a whole lot easier to deal with it if it came up. But here's the deal. Once you figure out the why, then you don't have to deal with it anymore, because we'll just heal it in a subconscious way, and so then you won't have to deal with it anymore. But these things are here for a reason. All these things. So if you got some vice that you're still clinging on to, and you're like, oh, but I need my vice. Well, you don't actually need it. It doesn't need you. It's a one-sided, very one-sided relationship that you got there. You're like, it doesn't love you back. You might love drinking or smoking or doing the things or whatever, but it doesn't love you back. It's a toxic relationship. It's one-sided. You love it, and it's just harming you. So it's time to probably let it go then, I would imagine, because I don't want any toxic relationships in my life. And I'm sure you don't either, because you're more valuable than that. But why do we have these things, these little vices that we can't seem to let go of? Well, we have them because there's a feeling that's attached, and that feeling's trying to tell you something, because the only reason why you engage in that behavior, or why you allow that person to do that to you and you haven't let them go, is because you have some kind of something that's unhealed within you that's telling you subconsciously, on a subconscious level, that you need to be punished. And because you believe subconsciously that you need to be punished for whatever reason, and you might argue and say, no, I don't believe I need to be punished. Well, I'm telling you, subconsciously, we, if you don't believe that you are worthy and deserving at a 10 out of 10, then you believe that you need to be punished in some way. I know that it doesn't seem this way, but this is what this is. So let's say that you were at a 7. Okay, well then 30% of you believes you don't deserve those things. Therefore, you're punishing yourself. Do you understand what I'm saying? So what we deal with is we heal these things. So why would we have a subconscious need to punish ourselves? Well, maybe because we believe we did something in the past and we're ashamed of it, we're embarrassed of it, and now we're racked full of guilt, and so we're holding that in, and we believe we're a bad person. And so this thing pops into your head regularly, and every time that you think about it, you just think about what a horrible bad person that you are. And because your consciousness is the be-all and end-all of everything in your life and your experience, and you're holding that within your consciousness, it's harming you. And because you believe that you need to be punished subconsciously, you will punish yourself, right? When you were little, your parents used to do that to you, but now that they don't do that to you anymore, I hope, you do it yourself. And so then we will punish ourselves in all kinds of ways. Like if you like smoking cigarettes subconsciously, you're trying to kill yourself. I know, but you are. Because you know that this is poison. You're like, no, I just like smoking. I get it. I know. I used to smoke back in the day. I freaking know. But subconsciously, I was angry at that time. You wouldn't have known. But I was internally pissed. With my dad, I had these resentments. I would have been pissed, I'm sure, at my ex as well, subconsciously, holding all this stuff in. And trying to escape this world. Let's see if we can escape by slowly killing ourselves. But you don't realize these things, right? You just live your life and you don't pay any mind to them. And you think, well, no, I do this because I like this and whatever. And we don't put any thought. There's no deep thought in our lives. We're not thoughtful about our lives. Why are we not? Why are we not more thoughtful? Why do we do these things and not question ourselves? I mean, like, why have I been trying to harm myself? Why have I been poisoning myself every single day? Why have I been doing these things? What is going on here? Why am I doing this? We don't even question it. We just do it. And we go about our day, and then we continue, and we don't even think about it. And pretty soon, 10, 15 years has gone by, and we're still doing the same thing, and we're like, hey, man, maybe I should stop doing that thing I've been doing for the last 10 or 15 years. It's starting to affect me. I don't know. I don't know if this is good. I think it's time for me to stop harming myself, or to start making better habits, or to start doing better things for myself. Because let me tell you this, if you love yourself, you won't harm yourself. Right? If you love yourself, you're going to want good, healthy, nutritious food in your body. You're going to want to get exercise. You're going to want to care for yourself in deep and meaningful ways. When you hear something and you're like, oh, could make me a better person, you're going to listen to it. You're going to take that advice in, and you're going to try to act on it because you're wanting to better yourself. But when you're in self-harm mode, because mentally you have a negative outlook on life and you truly don't want to be here anymore, sometimes people feel stuck. They feel stuck in these decisions that they have made, and they feel like, I'm trapped here. My life is never going to change. This is how it is. When your life could completely, totally change tomorrow if you made some different choices, if you made some different decisions, everything could be completely different for you. But because you feel trapped where you're at, you continue to do the same things over and over again, and nothing will change as long as you keep doing those things. And so you're going to feel like, yeah, I kind of don't want to be here, because you don't actually love your life. And you don't love your life because you're not making decisions that are aligning with what you actually want. A lot of times we will just stay in situations that is not what we actually want, and we will stay there for a very, very, very long time because it's comfortable, because it's what we know, because if we change that, we have to change everything, because it's scary if we were to, do something different. But that comfortability, if it is meaning, if you are living a life where you subconsciously or maybe even consciously don't really want to be here, but you gotta, so you just keep going through the steps and the motions. If that is you, you do not truly love your life. And I'm telling you, you can make different choices, make different decisions, and you can change your life completely. You can be in a completely different space in 3 months, 6 months, 1 year from now by choosing and making different decisions and choices and saying, you know what? This is not satisfying me. I'm not getting satisfaction with this. I'm not truly happy. I'm not truly enjoying the life that I'm living. I feel like I want this. And you can choose and you can make decisions and you can go and get whatever that this was. And by doing that, you'll change your life. And then all of a sudden, these things you were engaging in before, where you're, subconsciously trying to harm yourself, punish yourself, kill yourself, hurt yourself, whatever it was. Pretty soon you don't want to do those things anymore, because no, why would you want to do that? No, you want to live a long and healthy life because you're truly enjoying your life, waking up every morning, be like, yeah, I got the right people, I got the right place, I got the right things, I got all the right stuff. And the only way that that comes about is because of the decisions and the choices that you made. Maybe you manifested it. What is it? What is it that's missing? What is it that you're wanting? Whatever it is that's missing, whatever it is that you're wanting, go and get it. Go and get that thing, whatever it is. By making different choices, making different decisions. And you might be like, okay, well, everything would have to change. I mean, you're right. Sometimes everything has to change in order to move on to the next phase of life, whatever it happens to be. Now, I know that we can be in certain energies. Let's say that there's certain people in our environment, and we succinct ourselves to this vibrationary level of the people that we hang out with, which is why it's very important, who you spend your time with, who you spend your energy with. And I've been really noticing that a lot here lately, that there is some people, and I truly, truly, truly enjoy spending my time and energy with certain people. And then there is certain people that I'm like, when I am put into an environment with certain people, I just think, I would rather be at home right now, meditating. So this is what I've been going off here lately, is I used to be, and I am still quite a social butterfly, but I really do love spending a lot of time alone. And so I'm just really listening to this now. When I am with someone, am I truly with them? Am I truly enjoying being there? Am I really there with that person? Or am I daydreaming about being home by myself? We need to pay attention to these things. The divine tells us moment to moment. So how are you feeling right now in this moment? And then when you're done listening to this, how do you feel, about 5 minutes after you're done listening to this? What space are you in? What are you feeling? Are you thinking that there's some choices, or there's decisions, or there's things that you need to change, or what is it that you're feeling? And when you just become aware, when you tune in, when you ask yourself more often, how is it that I'm feeling? Well, then you can adjust, because if you're not feeling fabulous, or you're not feeling a certain way that you want to be feeling, Well, then you can tune in and you can adjust. And you're like, okay, well, I was feeling this way. Okay, so now what am I going to think about that's going to change my mental attitude right now? That's all you need to ask yourself. What am I going to think about? Because if you think about the last time that you went out and you had a lot of laughter and you had a lot of fun, what does that do? That raises your vibe right up. And this happens by thinking about it, by changing your consciousness level through thought. And you are choosing, you're consciously choosing to do that, to raise it up. Well, we feel like we're not consciously choosing to think about the things that are harmful and that hurt us, but it is a choice. You know, we have free will, and our free will is our mind, is our thoughts. You can think of whatever it is that you want, but you reap as you sow. So whatever seeds you're sowing, you're going to reap of them at some point there in the future. So maybe in the past, you reaped a lot of negative karma. Maybe it's coming back to you. Maybe you're having things happen to you in your life. And if you are actually honest with yourself and you can identify, I really did. I was a creator of this. You know, this happened. I spoke about it all the time. I worried about it. I talked about it. And you planted the seeds over and over and over again. And look what you got. That very thing that you said that you didn't want. Or maybe the very thing that you said that you did want. Maybe the thing that you desired the most because you spoke about it, you thought about it, you talked about it, and now you've got it. But if you've got something that's negative that's come up in your life and you've realized like, oh man, you know, I created this, well, what a perfect time for some character development to realize, oh, I did create this, and to never do that ever again. First of all, stop speaking about it right now. Sure, it's happening right now in the now. It doesn't matter. You don't need to talk about it. You don't need to give it any more of your focus or any more of your attention than you already have to. Speaking about it as little as possible, thinking about it as little as possible, whatever the negative karma is that has come to you, is the way to do it. And here, so if you're going through something and you're like, oh, but this person going, you know, I'm dealing with this or whatever happens to be, I want you to imagine whatever the situation is, it's already resolved in the most wonderful way. And whatever it is, only focus on that. It's already resolved. It's already resolved. It's already better. It's already better. It's not going back to the way that it was. No, because character development, whatever you were dealing with, people are just growing. Everybody's growing. So even if you were dealing with someone else, they're growing too, and they're only going to get better. You're only going to get better. The problem is already solved. So what does it look like now after that you've let that thing go that, you know, you thought, oh, I need to let it go? And if you're like, oh, well, now I'm bored. I don't even know. You have to. You have to use your mind and find something that is going to replace the thing that you let go of. You have to. And as you just find something to give your mind some peace, right? Let's say that you're going to quit smoking. Well, how much of your time were you wasting doing that? Probably a lot. So now what can you use and spend that time on? And then have your mind see yourself using and spending that time on other, more valuable things. This will make it much easier because when we let go of something, our mind is like, what? We need something to fill the space. Well, all you need to know is that when you let it go, and you let it go because it's low vibe, because it's not bringing you what you want, when you let it go, be thankful that you're letting it go, and then send out an excited, joyful thankfulness that whatever it is that you now do want, you now have space for it, and it will very shortly be given to you. And when you expect it, that's exactly what will happen. But when you expect that, or that, or that, or that, it's exactly what will happen. Our expectations do become realized. When we truly expect something and we don't have any doubt with it, we get it 100% of the time. So if there's something that you need to let go of, let it go and expect with no doubt that something wonderful will come and take its place almost immediately, and that you'll recognize, oh, look at this wonderful thing that has come and replaced that thing that I let go of almost immediately. How wonderful that was. And when you expect it, you'll get it. So, I guess the moral of the story is don't judge people on their yesterdays, because you're not the same person that you were yesterday. At least I hope you're not. Another lesson for today is that You are what you eat. So if you're putting poison in your body, you're toxic. You're putting that poison into your cells. You're literally poisoning yourself. Read the labels on your food. How many of those words can you not even pronounce? Don't eat that crap. Don't put that in there. Do you love yourself? Don't do it. Just love yourself. Give yourself good, healthy food. People sometimes feel so awful. They're like, oh, I'm tired. I don't feel very good. These things hurt my stomach. The this, the that, all the things. And it's because you're eating crap. Just eat the natural, healthy foods that God made. The ones that grow in the ground and the ones that walk around on legs and the ones that grow on trees. And just eat that and none of the other things with any of the other stuff in it for a while. And all of a sudden you'll be like, wow, man, I feel like a totally different person. Because that food that's going in, you are what you eat. Anyways, I'm just going to leave you with that. But love you all. Thank you guys for tuning in here today. And I hope you have a wonderful day. And I will see you guys tomorrow. Take care.